Hi, everybody. Happy Thursday. I had a couple of students reach out to me and say they were confused about how to draw two-point perspective and maybe perspective in general. So I appreciate that. I think that it's just really important for students to ask questions, especially in this disconnected learning environment, because your instructor doesn't know what you don't know until he or she sees the work when it comes in, and then they'll know if the students understood the principles. And that point, that's kind of too late because we just move on to the next assignment, right? So it just really helps me to get direct feedback from students if they're confused. In particular, because those two students reached out to me, I decided that I would do a second demo on this, and I'm not doing a new exercise this Thursday. When you're seeing this, I'm going to let students keep working on the same project. So if they have a grasp on two-point perspective, then they can embellish their design by adding siding or like landscaping, flowers, trees, shading, clouds. Just embellish it, shading. But if they didn't understand this, then this is a chance for them to keep working on it, okay? Because I have a suspicion that even though only two students reached out to me, I have a suspicion other students didn't completely get it, and then maybe they're too shy or something to ask for help. So please ask for help. Okay. Point perspective is the simplest form of perspective, and in this, even though I freehanded this, but the way to properly do it would be to use my T-square or a set square, which is a triangle like this, because this is 90 degrees. It's a right angle, and same with that. And in 1-point perspective, these squares are meant to, as they're free-handed, but they're meant to be 90 degrees, 90-degree corners, right angles. So all those horizontal lines are parallel to each other and parallel to the horizon line, with all the verticals being perpendicular to the horizon line and parallel to the edge of your paper. And I just want to make sure everybody understands that, because though that terminology is continuously used in explaining how to draw perspective. The horizon line is straight across at 0 degrees, and then the verticals in 1 and 2-point perspective run perfectly up and down at 90 degrees. Got it? Okay. One of the reasons why 1-point perspective, even though you get this feeling of illusionistic depth, it lacks realism, because if this was truly a cube and you could see the left side and the top, then this side should actually be pivoting away from you like this. So if you look at this wooden block, if you were able to look at the left side of it, you see how the sides are actually tapering. They converge in space, right? And as soon as you tilt it, the right side does the same thing. So it also converges. And the farther you tilt it, the more extreme that gets, right? And if I tilt it this way so that you can see the top and the side, then there's no way this face appears squared on the page with the 90-degree corners, right? See how those are not 90-degree corners. So yeah, in this sketch, I was explaining to a student how that's one point, but then because you can see the top and the left side, then the a more realistic way to represent it would be to angle these edges, which is when you get into 2-point perspective. Because this goes to one vanishing point, that goes to another vanishing point. Okay. All right. So I'm going to do a demo on this, on furthering the 2-point perspective. We're not going to get into 3-point. And next week we'll go to the figure and the face. So I think we'll just work on those things for the rest of the class or the course, because this is an intro class to, I just want to touch on a whole bunch of different things, and we're not trying to make anybody into a master here, but we're trying to explain some of the basic key concepts, and hopefully you continue with it and you realize that it's not a mystery. There's quite a lot of science to it, right? Okay. So I downloaded pictures of my childhood home, which looks like this. It's in Calgary. And I started recording a demo of this, but then I decided this was not going to work because there's a box here with kind of a compound roof, like it's a peak that goes this way with another peak in the front, and then there's a box that's set back and then another box that projects outwards, and this inset, I decided this was too complicated for my demo, and I don't want to freak anybody out by thinking, but so I decided to switch to a much more simple house as for my demo, because I don't want this to go too long and then making lines everywhere and confusing people. So if you find that your childhood home or your current home, any of your homes that you've ever lived in, don't work, then just follow my demo. It's not really important. I wanted to have some sort of a conceptual feel of I thought it'd be cool for students to revisit their childhood home in a project. But if the building is too complex for you to take on, then don't do it. Okay, just follow mine or make up your own. That's much simpler. Okay, so without further ado, I'm going to do my demo. We start with horizon line in the middle. Okay, it could be slightly above the middle or slightly below, it does not matter. Most students do not have a set square like this or a T-square, but you could, you can use a piece of paper or a magazine. Everything, all those things have a right angle. Okay. Somebody asked me, where do I put the vanishing points? Let's just keep it simple and put the left one, vanishing point 1 and vanishing point 2 on the left and right side of the page. And it's not gonna it's not going to make things more it's not going to how do I put it, it's not going to make the learning lesson more enhanced to mess around with it. This is adequate for our exercise, and you could still still have a lot of flexibility in making a drawing very simple or very complex. We by putting them on the far end, we don't have to like have a separate sheet of paper, but we have a lot of room to work with. Okay. There's my house that I'm currently living in, and I think the left side of this is more attractive than the right side. So on Google Maps, I scrolled through the street view so to get this perspective, and this is going to be my reference image. Okay. So on this side, I'm going to place the corner of this building. And again, I always do 90 degrees. So right there. And I don't have a measuring stick for how high I want this, but I just know that if I get it too high, then those angles are going to start looking really distorted like that, and I don't want that. So somebody had in the discussion forum said that my demo helped them for 1 point perspective because I described the vanishing points and how all the lines converge on it. I described it like the hands of a clock. So thank you to that person who gave me that feedback, because I need feedback, right? I'm just constantly trying to figure out how to explain these things better. Vanishing point 2, same thing. Every line that goes to it is going to be like the hands of a clock. And the farther those lines are away from the horizon line, then the more extreme of an angle they get, like this. Okay, so from this point, I've established the top and the bottom, and I'm going to connect it to vanishing point 1 and vanishing point 2. Okay. Still doesn't really look like a building. That's okay. I can tell you that now that I have that, I don't really need the horizon line. So I'm just going to go ahead and get rid of that. If I need to bring it up again, I can still see where it is, but right now it's just kind of in the way. It's not helping me out. Okay, there's my front corner, and I'm just gonna guesstimate how far I want this this wall to go back, and there isn't really a formula for that. It's sort of sizing up the proportions of this, because I know that this is a 1.5 levels. So one full floor right here, and then the second floor, or the basement floor, is half sunken in to the ground. So so I'm just gonna put it right here, and I can adjust that later if I like. Okay. It's a long house. It's pretty simple shape. It's a long house. So let's go right here. And don't worry if you get that wrong, because my goal right now is just so that everybody understands how to map the stuff out. So if your house's proportions are off, don't worry about it. We're gonna put the roof on. So this I don't think that I need that right now, so I'm gonna erase that too. Okay, how I find the middle of this roof, the middle, how I make the peak is I draw an X between that point and that point and that point and that point. So I line that up. X. I don't go all the way across because I just need the point in the center where they intersect. And you notice that this X is offset to the left, so it's not the true center on the page. Because like right now, if I measure this, it's almost 2.5 inches. Half of that is 1.25, right? But if this was a real wall and it's pivoted away from you, then that center is going to be offset because this half of the wall, the left half of the wall, is farther away than the right half. So that's the center of the wall in perspective. So next, I go 90 degrees straight up. And I want to draw it high enough so that it has the same feeling of how tall this is. Again, there's not really any formula. You just try to go with what looks right. But I'm going to make it tall enough so that you can see the top like we can in the photo here. So I know that if I come up to this point and I connect it down to here, then you're going to see a little bit of the top. Okay. Oh wait, my bad. Stop. I was on autopilot there. See, I make mistakes sometimes. No, okay. You found the middle. You go up to the top, up as high as you feel is appropriate for the pitch of your roof, and then you connect it to the corners here. Okay. There we go. That's better. Now, how do we do this part? Okay, this is the tricky part. Please pay attention. Imagine this box is empty for a second, like transparent, like these ones. So you can, it's like an aquarium. There's little fishies inside. So you can see the back corner, right? We're gonna draw the inside of this. And if your ruler does not quite line up, then my suggestion, like if your ruler just isn't long enough to span your entire sketchbook, just try to place it in the middle between the 2 points where you want to go. And go like that. I don't know if you can see this, but I've got mosquitoes buzzing around in my studio. So once in a while you might see one going past the camera. It's a little bit annoying. Okay. So there we go. Okay. So we connected those points to vanishing point 2, and then vanishing point 1. I go from this corner to vanishing point 1. There. And I stopped where it hits this line, going to vanishing point 2 from the left side. Bloop. And I do the same up here. It's above the horizon line, so it's tilted at an opposite angle than the ones below the horizon line. Okay. So right there and right there is where they intersect those other two lines that we drew first. And you draw a 90 degree right there. I mean, I might get rid of this later on, but that's the back side. That's the right side of my house, which faces west. This side faces east, north, and then that part is south. Okay. Not that that matters too much. But here, I'm going to draw another X. So corner to corner, Bloop. Bloop. Find the, go straight up from the center. How high do I go? Well, I'm just going to go a little bit like that. And the height of it is going to be determined by this height that I established here. I decided that seems like a good and steep enough pitch that is pretty close to my reference photo. And then if I go, whoops, I'm going to grab my other ruler and connect that peak to the vanishing point 2. I'm going to go a little bit darker because I know that this is a line that I'm going to keep. There. Okay, so I connected it to that center point that I drew upwards, and from there I go down to here. So it's just a slight variation in the angle. I'm just making some of these lines darker. So does that start to look like a house? Hope so. You have a peak, you have a box. This part is the farthest from you. That part is the farthest from you. Or this is the closest to you, sorry. Okay. And I'm going to make some of these other lines a little bit darker. Whoops, broke my pencil. All right. Bear with me, I'm going to change my pencil. Oh, there isn't one in there. There's one in here. This is like a big ass mechanical pencil. It's called an architectural lead holder. There we go. Okay, I love drawing with these. It's not part of your kit, but that's what I use. I know that the roof has a bit of an overhang to this, but I'm not going to worry about that level of detail for this exercise. If you're able to draw this box, I'll be happy. Once you understand this principle, then you can keep adding more levels of detail. But this is basically what you're doing. You're drawing a box tilted away from you so that you're seeing left side and right side. I got my left and right confused because it's been a long day. Okay. Next. I don't need these lines anymore. One of the students was saying that she really appreciates me explaining all the tools in the kit in one of my first videos, because she'd never seen most of them before, so I'm glad to have that feedback. And also that I introduced the kneadable eraser to people, because I think everybody should have one of these things, whether or not they're an artist or taking an art class, because they're just so much fun to play with. And they're so useful. Okay. There's my box. And I could draw this roof line right here. There's like a secondary little roof that sticks out, and it's right about there. Okay, I just picked an arbitrary spot. I'm keeping in mind that my garage is set into the ground, but I don't, I might add that in later on for myself, but I'm not really gonna concern myself with making it that detailed. So not for now anyway. Okay, so there's my little roof. It doesn't go all the way across. It stops before these bedrooms. And this angle doesn't go to any of the doesn't go to the two vanishing points. So I'm just going to eyeball it, and I'm going to make it the same angle as this. How about that? So if I place my ruler here, then I can see it's parallel to that. Right about there. And this point goes to vanishing point 2. And that point goes to vanishing point 1. I can actually, what works pretty well is I could actually take that angle and continue it right here and match it. That looks pretty good. And then I have windows in my kitchen. So right about there and right there. Okay, garage is about here. So okay, well, now that I've done the garage, I think I've kind of set myself up to follow through with, like, you can see that my front yard is it's hard to tell in this photo, but it's actually higher. It kind of continues to half the height, and then the driveway dips down, so there's a set of stairs right here. So right about there, I'm going to connect that to vanishing point 2, and I'm just going to draw that edge and erase that off. Okay, so there's actually grass and lawn that goes over there, and I have to put a column right here that supports my roof, and another one right there. Make it a little bit thicker. And I have window right about right there, there. So I have a bunch of windows right here. So I'm just gonna really lightly sketch them out. I'm not going for perfect accuracy right here. I'm just estimating roughly where they're gonna go. Remember in the grid exercise, you're trying to like line up relationships between things that are left and right of each other or above and below each other. So if I'm trying to place this window, then I know that like it's more or less above the end of the garage here, and I'm looking to see that this space is bigger than that space. The left side of this window is, you know, higher, or it's above the right end of this window. So you're just constantly looking at those relationships to place things. So window frames, I'm just going to do this kind of quickly because I think at this point people understand. I hope everybody understands the principle of what we're doing here. Okay, once you've done all those verticals, then you can connect those up to the vanishing point, like that. Tip at this point, since I can't see the windows, if you have the ruler on the outside of your windows, again, make sure this is lined up on this side, then it might be easier to draw those tops. There you go. I'm gonna add the front of that roof overhang where the gutter is. It just will look a little bit better. Okay. I'm gonna stop there. That's basically how you map this out. If I wanted to add all the siding in, then you could do that. If I wanted to add the insets of the windows, I can start adding those in. You can see that the light is hitting this building from this side because it's casting a shadow here. It's above and coming from the left because there's more of a shadow here than over there. And this is all in shadow. So if I wanted to, I could try to replicate that on this side. I know the roof overhang isn't the same here, but I could definitely keep this all light and put all this in shadow, and then put a cast shadow over here and darken in the roof, that kind of stuff. Maybe add the tree in. I hope that helps, and after this we'll move on to the next assignment or next exercise. Okay, good luck everybody.